Good morning again, beloved ones. Turn to someone and tell them, I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors shining through. Yes, I see your true colors shining through. Yes. And those colors are bright. Yes, I see the truth of who you are. I see the beauty of who you are. Yes. Can't you see it? I see it. I see the beauty of who you are. I see God reflecting back at me as I look at you. So that's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. You know, I always share with you whenever I come back from my vacation or whatever journey that I'm on or that I've taken. And I've been to Sedona many times, and each time I go, it's vastly different. And I receive so many blessings, from that experience, because I truly believe that it is one of the most heavenly and sacred places on the planet. And not simply because, there's a collection of cathedrals or holy temples or shrines as some other sacred places have. Not because there's some saints or sages or great mystics or whatever that have walked there or lived there or passed by, not any of that. Not because of that, but because of the very nature and the majestic essence of the vistas and the canyons and the sky over Sedona, within Sedona. And most importantly, because of the spiritual and the magnetic energy that indwells that place. It's a magnetic, spiritual, energetic place on the planet. And it's an anomaly. There are a few of these types of places on the planet. I believe the Bermuda Triangle is such a place where the electromagnetic field that surrounds the earth is stronger in certain spots upon the earth. And this increased or strong magnetic field has the ability to actually affect the brain waves, the activity of the brain waves in our bodies and in our brains. And because of that, sometimes the intuitive nature, the energetic nature, or the energetic fields become heightened and stimulated as you move through or rest in or experience the vortexes, which is simply the field of this magnetic energy. It's called a vortex or whatever. And as you dwell in it and rest, it begins to affect your own, because we are also an electromagnetic field of energy, right? That's right. So when a high, how it works, when a high vibration meets a lower vibration, it raises that lower vibration to what? To its level. And so what happens when you're there, your vibration and your energy field gets raised, stimulated, opened up, it exposed. And it's a wonderful experience. It's a spiritual experience because it deals with vibration and energy. You have to feel the experience. Sometimes, I laugh because people have come up when I'm there, whatever, and they're looking for the vortex, and they may say, do you know where the vortex is? Really, because they're trying to see it, they're trying to find, well, where is it? Can you tell me where is it? It's a spiritual experience you must feel. Because if you go there just looking with your physical eye, although what you look at with your physical eye is so majestic and so beautiful that it will stimulate you and move you into another consciousness. But if you go there just looking, right, with the physical eyes, well, what you'll see probably is you'll see some places to shop, nice places. You'll see some restaurants, right, with some food. You'll see some places of Madame Fufu, where Madame Fufu is hanging out her sticker for psychic readings. You'll see places for crystals, and because it has a lot of the New Age and Fufu stuff. Yeah. And so if that's what you're looking for, that's what you're going to see. You think, well, this must be it. you know? And so if you do that, you will probably miss the vitality of spirit that is there. But if you're open enough to actually, and strong enough and physically enough to actually hike into the canyons and find yourself a good rock, because it's all red rock, but to find a good rock to sit upon, to rest upon, to allow yourself to be still enough in the midst of that canyon, in the midst of that, you will begin to actually feel the presence of the divine. You will hear the meditations of your heart. You'll hear that inner voice of spirit that is calling you and speaking to you and offering blessings to you that usually we don't hear because we're moving, in this outer sphere. But if you can get still enough in that field and rest in it, dwell in it, you will actually feel the magnetic field of energy start to stir up vibrations in your head. You might even get a little headache if you're not used to that amount of energy. But you'll feel that something is stirring. Something is moving within you. So when I'm there, that's what we got to do, is to spend either mornings and evenings, but sometime every day in one of the canyons, as well as driving around. And also, when you go, you got to be in a convertible. You can't go see it because you want to be open. The sky is so wide and so magnificent. You want the energy you want to be opened. So that's the best way to do it. But if you also venture out in the evening, the beauty is that at dusk, when that sun and the light is setting and the light hits the rocks, all of a sudden the rocks begin to shimmer and glow and have I've seen colors that I've never seen before. And the sky is so colorful and vivid with clouds and the sunset. It's just a very special place. You will actually begin to see the glory and the majesty of God's handiwork. Because you'll know this was nothing but God that created this. It has nothing to do with man, They might be selling some commercial aspects of it, but they had nothing to do with the beauty and the majesty that is there. So this was an especially healing trip for me, because for 2 days straight, there was a wonderful occurrence. We were gifted with the most glorious appearances of double rainbows. Now, not just glimpses of rainbows, but a full-blown, overarching, end-to-end rainbow. You know how we just see full-blown. And it was so magnificent because this was already in a setting that's just tremendous. But to see it in the open sky, a wonderful rainbow, a double rainbow, with all being able to distinctly see all of the colors of the rainbow was very, very special. And it happened twice within each day for 2 days straight. Beautiful, beautiful. So I said, wow, to see this magnificent rainbow for these 2 days, I felt that I was being showered with blessings, that God's healing grace was all over me, right? That's what I could feel, and that I was somehow being renewed and restored and revitalized so that I could continue my spiritual journey with new vision, new strength, new energy. Do you remember the state that I was in upon my return from India? Remember I told you about that? Right? You remember the state that I was in, right? I shared with you my experience of having what I felt was a dark night of the soul, right? That how wounded and devastated I felt upon my return, as if the self or myself was somehow being dismantled, and it was. But it's no picnic when the self of who you think you are is being dismantled. It was a hard experience for me, rough and painful. And I stuck with it, but I felt like I was being spiritually stripped away of something so that the greater and the higher could come in. Well, this trip to Sedona signified for me the anchoring of my spirit in the present. See, because sometimes when you are moving through a storm, you need to be anchored in something. And you need to be grounded in something. And so I felt that this experience was anchoring me in that presence. I could feel the vibrations, and I was just taking it all in. It brought healing to my spirit, and it brought a remembrance of the truth that God never leaves us. No matter what experience we have, God is never far from a breath that we take, a thought that we think, an opening of the heart to feel the presence of God, always there. Even through the winters, the storms, the rough places. And we may have to ride the rough seas of life. You might have to ride them. But in the end, we will always get to experience the calm presence of God and the manifestation of his promises to us. Everybody that saw, we were all going, did you see, look at the sky. Everybody was so excited. And why is it that we get so excited when we actually see a rainbow, and maybe even a full rainbow? It is because I believe that it symbolizes the eternal promise of God. I'm sure all of you are familiar with the story of Noah and the ark and the great flood that destroyed the earth and the animals, all except for those that Noah was able to bring into the ark, and the people that he had with him, his family. Well, after that experience, and it was for 40 days and 40 nights, and the number 40 spiritual just simply means a spiritual time of completion. So when that experience of the great flood, the great cleansing, whatever was over, this is what God said to Noah. And I'm reading from Genesis chapter 9, verses 8 through 14. And then God told Noah and his sons, I'm making a covenant with you and your descendants, and with the animals you brought with you, all these birds and livestock and wild animals. I solemnly promise never to send another flood to kill all living creatures and destroy the earth. And God said, I'm giving you a sign as evidence of my eternal covenant with you and all living creatures. I have placed my rainbow in the clouds. It is a sign of my permanent promise to you and to all the earth. When I send clouds over the earth, the rainbow will be seen in the clouds. And I will remember my covenant with you and with everything that lives. Never again will there be a flood that will destroy all life. When I see the rainbow in the clouds, I will remember the eternal covenant between God and every living creature on earth. Then God said to Noah, yes, this is the sign of my covenant with all the creatures of the earth. That's why we get so excited, because we are remembering the covenant. We are remembering the promise of God that we will not be destroyed by floods, by the waters of life, by the challenges. The rainbow is that symbol of that promise and that covenant. Now, while this is a wonderful story, and it's a wonderful allegory for us, or parable for us, whatever you want to call it, but when I was looking at those rainbows, and I was seeing them in the canyons and seeing them in the skies, and it kept, it was there for a while and a long time, I recognized that somehow this has to have some meaning for me. Why would I be here at this particular time and seeing on these days, both days, back to back, the magnificence of this beauty? So I said, because a metaphysician looks for the lesson in everything, right? A metaphysician says there has to be something underneath this story. There's something underneath this experience. There's something for me to look at, for me to see. So I said, all right, when I get home, I'm going to have to look up rainbows. I'm going to have to see what this means for me. And so I did that. Now, rainbows appear usually after a storm, and they occur when sunlight or light meets the heavenly dew or water in the clouds that are held and left over in the clouds. So when light meets the rain, the water in the clouds, right? When they meet, a rainbow is formed. It's when water and sunlight come together. Now, I want you to think about this. Light and water, right? They are the two basic elements for what? For life. You must have light and you must have water, both. You can't have all light with no water. You can't have water without light. They are both the essential elements for life, for anything to grow, for life to manifest. You have to have them both. And when light and water meet, when these two basic elements meet together, there is the rainbow. There is the presence of God, the promise of God, for not the destruction of life ever again, but for the eternality of life, for the fullness of life. And it's so powerful because even the scripture says, it says to us, into each life some what? Some rain must fall. You got to, in your life, some rain is going to fall. And then it says in Matthew 4:5, it says, for he gives his sunlight to both the evil and the good. He sends rain on the just and on the unjust, meaning everybody. We are all going to get our fair share of light and rain, sunshine and rain. But you see, we all seem to love the sunshine, right? We love it, boy. We get out in the sun, we play. When it's raining, we're all down. We stay inside. We should be running out in the rain. Who cares about the hair? You know? We were in a convertible. I didn't care. Let it rain. You know? But we like that sunlight. We like the sunshine. We like when things seem to be going well in our lives. We like it and love it when all of a sudden our blessings are really apparent to everybody. We can see our blessings and we know we're being blessed, right? And we like it when the blessings seem to be full and they're flowing abundantly. We like it when we can actually feel God's love in our life, when we can feel his presence at work and we praise God and we're thankful to God for all this good. And rightly so, and we should. But friends, we are also going to have some dark, cloudy days. We will have our rainy, stormy times, our periods of great challenge, and they should be equally as welcomed. Because when that happens, we can remember that within those cloudy days, those rainy days, those stormy times, within the cloud also lies the promise of God's presence and peace. He said, I'm going to place my rainbow in the cloud. He said, and when I send clouds, which means he's going to send what? Some clouds. But when I send them, what is also in the cloud? The rainbow. See? The presence of God's glory and majesty is in there. So within the storm also brings the calming presence of God. It brings the healing presence of God. It brings the sweetness of Spirit's light in that cloud. So when God's light is reflected within the waters of rain and storm and challenges, difficulties, when God's light is reflected in the midst of that, when light hits the storm and the water, what happens? A rainbow is formed. The presence of God's love and protection begins to arch over us, right? Providing us with everything that we need, giving us a way that we can stand upon and underneath the protecting presence of God, standing underneath the love of God. Because it arches over and we get to really stand underneath that. Turn to somebody and tell them, I'm standing under the promises of God. I'm standing under the promises of God. I am standing under the promises of God. See, the key is not to lose hope. Not to lose hope while you are in the midst of your storm. Because while you are waiting for the light, because the rain is there, you're waiting for the light. While you're waiting for that light to shine, you have to begin to find the strength from and within the storm. Don't try to avoid the storm. Recognize that within this storm comes a precious gift. See? And so while you're waiting the storm out, find that strength that lies within it. Find the blessings that are within it. You can't give up. You don't lose hope. Whatever you are experiencing is showing up for a divine and blessed reason. It is showing up to help you grow. It is showing up to point out to you just where Spirit needs to water an aspect of your life. He's watering, right, some portion of your being. It's just, he's showing you those dark, cloudy places in you that need the light of truth to be able to bring you out into your full glory, your full presence. You got to weather the storms. Don't give up. Don't lose heart. Don't lose faith, because the promise of God is within. And the promise is that we would not be destroyed ever again by the floods. You won't be destroyed. So what I say is that you can actually become stronger when you are experiencing the storm, if you can see the light within it. You see, you'll be stronger by your experience if you can see the light of truth that lies within it. Sometimes we are so overcome by the experience, we're not even looking for the light of truth. We're just, look for the light. There's truth and goodness in every experience. And so we have to see it. Maybe it's something that needs to be cleansed. When you have a flood of stuff happening, maybe it's because something needs to be cleansed in your consciousness, right? Or maybe it is something that needs some negativity that you're holding on to that needs to be purified by the living waters of truth. Something needs to be purified. Or maybe it's that you have to touch the waters of Spirit, the living waters of God. See, water is a cleansing, purifying, healing element, a life-giving element. It also represents spiritually the unconscious aspect, because usually what's below the water we can't what? We can't see. And so it represents the unconscious. And when turbulent waters flow in your life, it might mean a message for you to look within and see what is stirring up within you, to see what's troubling you. When turbulent waters, troubling waters are stirred up, you need to see what is troubling your spirit and your soul. The rainbow is a bridge over what? Troubled water. You're going to have, it's God's healing presence in you that can stir up when the things are stirred up, but it also signifies the movement of Spirit. Because remember in the scripture, when the man was sitting by the pool, and the angel of heaven would come and he would stir up the waters in the pool. And if you could jump in at that time, you would be healed. So what that means is sometimes when turbulent waters or troubled waters or waters are being stirred up in your life, it also means that God's healing presence is there in the midst of that trouble, that stirring. And rather than get away, you need to jump right on in. Jump right on in and let that wonderful energy heal you, because trouble don't last always, but God's presence does, right? Someone said this: just as turbulent storms are necessary for nature to cleanse and feed the earth with water, storms provide water. We're in the desert, so when it rains, they're happy, right? It's the desert out here. When we have it, we're like, but they're like, oh, thank God, there's water feeding the earth. So just as turbulent storms are necessary for nature to cleanse and feed the earth, so too are the emotional storms necessary in our lives in order to cleanse away our burdens and to feed our souls. And in this respect, the rainbow can also symbolize the peace and calmness which comes to us at the end of unsettling periods in our lives. For after our emotional and symbolic tears are finally drained from us, our road becomes clearer. The rainbow shining above now points us in a new direction. You ever have that feeling when you just finally you're spent, you've cried enough, you've called out enough, and you're just at a place where the only thing you can do is just be open and surrendered. And in that moment, you are strengthened. and given the direction that you need. So we got to stay with the storms. We stay with the challenges and the difficulties until the light dawns within us, that light of truth. You let the storm meet the light, the water and rain meet the light, and soon you'll begin to see the reflection of God in your experiences. You'll see the reflection of the rainbow in that experience. You'll see the peace and the calm that comes after the storm. You'll be blessed with the freshness, a new beginning, a new sense of life, a new level of consciousness. And if you're steadfast in this process, guess what? You might even receive a double portion of blessings. You might see a double rainbow. You might get a double rainbow. Just remember, the rainbow in its fullness creates an arch or an arc, which appears to be touching the earth at both ends. And yet at its highest point, it is touching the heavens, right? And what that means for us is that it is the meeting place of spirit moving into matter. It is the divine coming into flesh. It is, where the two become one, where heaven becomes on earth, comes on earth, and all of those blessings take place. It's a powerful symbol. So whatever your earthly experience is, whatever your earthly challenges are, you can stand under the spiritual arc and arch of God and be blessed to no end, because we are never without the Spirit of God, not even in our darkest hours. Even in our darkest hours. And this is the good news. Because while we know that when light passes through water, the rainbow appears, and it appears with the 7 colors of the rainbow, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. That when that happens, when water passes through, light passes through water, the colors of the rainbow come through. Now, this is also true when light passes through a prism, right? Doesn't have to be water, it can be the prism, right? And when that happens, those same colors come shining through. They are the colors of our spiritual centers, our spiritual chakras, the very same colors. And the truth is that we are the prism of God. We're the vessel of God. We are the channel through which God moves and flows. Our task is to be clear and open so that we can reflect the beauty and presence of God as light, right? And so when we are clear, when we understand that we are the prism of God, the vessel of God, and when we allow His divine light to shine through us, we become empowered with all of the essence and qualities of God, with His wisdom, faith, strength, all the things, order, all those qualities. We become that vehicle that now reflects that. Our divinity begins to shine forth. All of a sudden, our divinity in all of its glory, all of its radiance, all of its beauty begins to shine forth. See, we are inherently beautiful, radiating centers of God's light and God's presence. We're meant to shine. We're meant to unfold. We are meant to be a glorious display of His majesty. The mountains are great, but I want to look at each of you and look at myself and see the glorious display of God's majesty at work in and through you, shining forth. So we've got to be willing to let the light of truth meet and touch our rainy days and know that the presence of God within us will bless us in the end. And that the rainbow, the myth is that at the end of the rainbow you find what? A pot of gold. Well, the truth is at the end of the rainbow you find God. God is the gold that we're seeking. It's the good that we're seeking. Somewhere over the rainbow is God. Somewhere under the rainbow is God. Somewhere within the rainbow is God. And it all resides within you. So shine on and be blessed. Namaste. Namaste.